new people also. I started Python already. It's going on. So let me open the new session. Okay, which one we worked on it? In the last session we worked on this one, right? So day something day 2 D type. This is the one I sent to you all. So okay, how to perform the basic arithmetic, right? So the arithmetic operators we discussed, plus minus and division also. So division is nothing but this one, 2 divided by 2, something like that, or 4 divided by 2. So this is nothing but your division operator. Okay, 4 divided by 2 is 2.0. And the next one is division. Multiplication is for example 2 into 2 is a multiplication operator, and this one is your multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Subtraction is also the same, 4 minus 2, negative value, right? So this is the one. And for example, if I want to do perform some kind of moduli operation, 4 modulo 2. So what is the 0 tells us? This is the remainder or quotient. This is the remainder, right? So remainder is 0. 4 divided by 2 is, what does it say here? So this is nothing but modulo operator. 1 second, he is having trouble. Otherwise you can join tomorrow, no? Yeah, please, you can join tomorrow. It's already many people are waiting here. Yeah, please. So this is modulo operator. So we call it as a module, right? So module or module, right? So in Python, the percentage 2 and modulo. This is modulo operator. So here the first number divided by the second, right? The what we are saying is the value returned, the returned value. So I think something wrong with my keyboard is scrolling down automatically, right? So the remainder, right? The 0 is the remainder, right? So 0. So that is the one it returns. This is the model. And comparison operator. What is comparison operator? Let's say 10 is equivalent, double equal sign. 10 equal to 10 equal to true. It returns. So you need to use double equal sign. If you use a single equal sign, that means assignment operator. For example, A is equivalent to, let's say I said W, right? So W is equivalent to 20. The left hand side of the equal sign is nothing but your variable. On the right hand side of your equal sign is your value, right? So the variable W takes the value 20, right? So now this is assignment operator. One single equal sign is nothing but assignment operator. Double equal sign is nothing but your comparison operator. You can perform multiple comparison also. For example, 2 is less than 3 and 3 is greater than 1. You can perform multiple comparison in a single line also. You can do it like this. And also the variables, as far as the variables are concerned, right? You can assign multiple values to a variable in a single line. So if you want to print A, for example, A comma B, what values are stored in A comma B? 3 comma 4, right? So this is what we can see that. And also if I wanted to delete a variable, how can I delete? Del command. You can use del A. So and del B. You can delete both the variable. And next, if you want to see print A comma B, right? So print A comma B, these two variables are not available. Sometimes we will be using the temporary variables in order to store the computed or derived values. Once you use the temporary variable to get the derived value, you remove the actual variable itself, or you pass the temporary value to some other function. Once that job is done, you will remove the temporary variable. right? In that case, you should be knowing the command to delete a variable, right? So this variable got removed temporarily from your, permanently from your memory. And also we discussed about id function. What is id function? Id returns the address of your variable, right? So okay, w is equal to 20 and id returns 2.59. What does it says? 2.59. So id double, right? This is the one, this is the address. What does it says? Any idea? So how many of you remember this? This is nothing but the reference location, right? This is nothing but your reference location. So how many of you, this returns the memory location in base 10, right? The id function returns the memory location, the idx. One second, where is this? id of that one, right? So yeah, this is the one. This is nothing but returns the memory location of in base 10, okay, in base 10, they say in base 10, right? This is what it says. This is what the memory location, this kind of an address. Using this address only it can access the values. Supposing I have another variable called, I think I already discussed about this. Anyhow, this is important, certain things, because the test, the online test or the interview time, they'll be asking this concept, the interning concept. For example, x equivalent to 20, okay, and id of w is equivalent to id of x. It is true. What does it say? So both these variables refers the same value. Both these variables w and x, right, the address location. So see, for this the address, and for example, okay, I'll have to type this one. If I do this, are these two values are same? Yes, right? These two values are same. These two values are same. What does it says? That means I think some problem with my laptop keyboard also. So here idw, right? So the id gives you the memory location, right? So in which location of the memory the value, the variable w has the value to what. So the value held by w is located in this memory location. That is what it says. That is what it says, right? But in this case, what happened here? Both the variables w and x shares the value 20 in the memory. So that is the beauty of the Python. Okay, the interning. This is called interning concept. Okay, interning. This is called interning. Okay, let me just put it here. Interning, or memory. So this is how Python use the memory in a more efficient or optimal way. Otherwise, what will happen? It will store these two values in two different locations of your memory. End of the day, these two values are same, right? Okay, there is a limitation here. Any value between 0 to 256, especially when it comes to integer, right? Any value between 0 to 256, it maintains the interning. It uses the interning concept. It applies the interning concept. 0 to 256 for integer. Okay, and I'll just show you here what exactly here happens. See, what happens here is, see, in the memory, let's say I have w variable and I have a variable x, right? I have assigned value 10 and I assign the value for the w also 10. Since these two variables are storing these two values, right, same values, the memory. So what is a memory in the laptop? I don't know, your son is paying. So in the laptop, right, let's say laptop or any computer, you have memory, right? The memories are, just assume that it's all like the boxes in the memory. So in the C and other older language, right, so the value for w will be stored somewhere in the memory place, in the memory, in one cell, and the value for the x also stored in other part of your memory. So in one box it stored 10 for w, and other box it stored the value for 10. So the value for the variable x. It redundantly stores these two values, but in Python it's a very smart, right? Using interning, what they do is they both the w and x, these two variables share the same value 10, right? So here the reference value will be there. What is the reference value? Which is nothing but your memory location address. So that is what I showed you using IDX, right? IDX and IDW gives you the memory. Both these people are using the same address. It's something like, let's this is you, and the postman, two postmen, right? Or let's he's a Swiggy guy and this guy is a Dunzo guy. These two guys want to deliver the items to you, or they want to access you, they want to reach out to you. How do they reach out to you? They are using the address, right? Single address. You cannot give different address to different people because you are living in the specific location. So in that case, you need to tell them, hey, this is my address to this guy, and same address you need to tell. End of the day, you are sharing that. The same way, the same principle is applicable in the case of interning. So what is the advantage of this one? It is not going to share, or it is not going to redundantly store the value. Supposing, let's say you have 15 variables, w, x, a, b, c, d, likewise 15 variables are there. All the 15 variables use 10. You'll have to store the value 10 to all the 15 variables. What will happen? 15 times the 10s will be stored in the memory. It is redundant. Rather than storing the values 15 times, it stores the value 10 only one time, because the 10 value used to be all the value 10 is stored in all the 15 other variables, right? So store once and use it many times. That is what is happening using the reference value. But there is a limitation, 0 to 256. 0 to 256 only it will work. 0 to 2. That we will validate now. So whether if that one is working or not, because these are the small pieces of things, but the interview they will expect you to be good at answer. They will want to check how efficiently you are writing your code, and how how in-depth knowledge you have in Python internals also. Sorry, this one is changing it. No, okay, memory interning x equal to int of x. Okay, this is the one, right? W and X. We are talking about W and X. Okay, I just. Yeah, this is the one, right? ID of WX. These two are same, both of them. Here also is 20. W also using 20. You stored the value 20 in W and as well as in X. So now you want to check the reference value, the address for these two variables are same. Yes, true. Now let us do one thing. Now what we will do is, I am going to say y is equivalent to, let's say 1000, right? And z is equivalent to 1000, or they mentioned about 256, right? Let me do one thing. 257. We will use 257 to check. Something wrong with my this one laptop keyboard. It automatically types something, and ID of z. Are these two same? That is what we want to check it now. Okay, let me do one thing. I think yeah, done. ID of y. What is the ID of y? This one. And ID of z. I don't know whether it is a virus problem. Virus cannot come. See, both the IP, both the address or memory locations are not same. Though we use the same value for these two variables, it is not storing the value in single time, right? It stores the value redundantly. Even in Python, it stores the value identical values redundantly. It stores the identical values of different variables redundantly in the memory, especially after 256, anything after 256. Okay, so up to 256 it is fine. Okay, for example, let us try 256 here. What is this here? Okay, I'll try something else. Listen, A1 is equivalent to 256 and B1, B2 is equal to 256. ID of A1. What is ID of A1? 1 second, it is not. See, both of them are same, right? Anything above 256, the memory locations are different. See, these two are same only, right? Up to 256, it is working. 0 to 256, any values between 0 to 56. If the variables, right? If more than one variable uses the same value, it is not storing the value redundantly in the memory, right? It's not storing the value redundantly in the memory. Right, it stores only one time. So W we assign the value 10, X also we assign the value 10. So it uses only one. I think it automatically scrolls down. Yes, that is what is happening. Let me just give me a second here. Let me just check my mouse. Something, it's not with my mouse. No, still it is not working. Let me remove the mouse. I think something wrong with my mouse. I'm using an external mouse. 1 second here. Let me just check here. No, even after removing the mouse, the same thing is happening. 1 second, let me just pause because the example is not so good. But you just think about it that way. Okay. So, what is there any way if I can store? Yes, is there any way if I can enforce Python to access these identical values via a common address? Yes, you can use sys.intern. Okay, use sys.interning, right? So the interning is the concept. Hello world. You just type the hello world. Now we are forcing the Python using this function. What is sys? Sys is nothing but a package. When you install Python, this package also by default will get installed. You need to import this package explicitly, because in this package you have a method called intern. Sys.intern, you need to pass this value and you tell Python interpreter, hey, both s2 and s3 are going to use the same string value. Hence, store the hello world only once in memory, so that both s2 and s3 can use a common address to access hello world. So now let us check whether the address for both ID2 and S3 are same, right? In this case it was false, right? Now let us check this one. True. See, here it was wrong, right? The address for these two variables are not same. What does it says? That means these two variables values hello world, though it is identical, it got stored 2 times in the memory. But here what we are telling Python is, hey, don't store these two values 2 times in the memory, because both of them are same. Store it once and both the variables should use an address, common address, to access these values. Like this one, like I told you, right? See, ID of let's say what is the variable I used, this one, right? S2 S3. Okay, ID of S2 and ID of S3, both of them are same. That means these two are looking at hello world only. Hello world only one time in the memory, right? In the memory only one time it got stored, though multiple boxes are there. You just assume that in the memory multiple boxes or multiple cells are there. It is not getting stored one more time, right? So, but if you don't use sys.intern, what will happen is this value will get stored redundantly in the memory. Unnecessarily it consumes too much of space. We don't want, it's not too much of space, but in this example it is not going to consume too much of memory. But let's assume that multiple people are working in a specific project, right? So if all the people are accessing a server, in the server, let's 100 developers are working on it, right? So 100 developers are working on it. All the people are using multiple variables. In some cases multiple variables are using the same value, especially the numbers, right? The commonly used numbers. That is what the Python, the textbook, they say the any value these between 0 to 256 are commonly used values. Okay, string, this is called string. In this case it is not integer, it is a what is this? This is your string interning. String. Even in the case of string, don't store it multiple times, store it only once. So this is what you should be knowing about the variable, and how to delete a variable, how to create a variable, and the operators like the comparison operator, assignment operator, arithmetic operator, and also less than, greater than also, right? That is also kind of your the assignment operator only, right? So sorry, the comparison operator, using which you compare whether these two values are same or not. So string interning also we looked at it, right? So what else we can see? Okay. Anyhow, we have other operators, logical operators we discussed, and or not. These are like your logical operator, and comparison operator also we discussed. Identity operators, we have something called identity operator. Identity operator is not. When I explain you the set, there is something called set, which is part of the data structure. That time I will help you understand it. In and not in, is, not, is, these are all identity operator, and membership operators like in, not in. That also I will show you later. Okay. So data types we already discussed. How to check the data type of a variable, right? So that we discussed it. How do we check the data type of a variable? Type function. We use a type function. Type of W. What is type of W? Is int. And type of S2. str. str stands for string data type. And type of W is integer data type, right? Fine. What else? We discussed type conversion, type casting, right? Type casting. So what is type casting? You can change the data type of a variable. For example, you have something f is equal to 22.234 and you want to convert it as a int of f, right? So type function within this, you can say int f. It return int data type, right? So int, and if you want to print the value of this one, right? Print this one, comma, print of f. The value is 23.34. Okay, in this case, what you need to do is int of f, right? So you need to convert the int of f. You need to put additional thing, right? Additional parenthesis. So this is int and print int of f. So what is happening here? None. We have something called none also, it is there. Sorry, here we are not supposed to use print, so that's the mistake I made it. (23), right? So 20 int of f. You cannot give print of print, okay? Print int f. So this is the float data type, but we wanted to convert that as an integer. When I use int function, this is the built-in function int of f. The int is the built-in function. We don't have to write a function for this to convert the decimal value to integer. Okay, all you need to do is int of f. So this one is int data type. Since I use type function, what data type is after converting this is int data, and what value you will get 23 instead of 23.34, we get something like this, right? Fine. So we are all set as far as the data types are concerned. We discussed about the data types also, complex data type, right? So plus, what is that? Complex number. Look here. So this is what we discussed. So complex data type and all these things we discussed it. And integer data string is immutable, and also we discussed about string is an immutable object, and also how to slice the values of the string. Did you get a chance to practice this one? See, for literals it is okay, you can pick up any time, and it's all very simple one only, right? So you don't have to worry about too much about this. And the list also we discussed it. So, and I asked this one, right? I gave you one simple assignment. How can you add the value in a specific location of the list? How can you do that? For example, this is my list, right? So for example, L is holding, because of some scrolling, automatic scrolling, I'm just typing it. So L of 0 gives you the first element 2, right? So L of 1 gives you this one. The index values are starting from 0 to access the values of the list. If you want to access the specific value of the list, you need to use the index. Using the index values only, you can access the values of your list. L of 0 is nothing but the first index, right? The first index location is holding the value 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, L of 0. So if I wanted to add something here, L dot insert, supposing you wanted to include 1 in the first place, or let's say 2, 3, 5, 4, 5, 7, 6, right? You want to insert a 6 in between 5 and 7. How can you do that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 4, 6, and then print L. See? So you need to specify the index value. The first one is the index value. 0, look here, 0, 1, 2, 3, and the fourth place. The fourth place you want to put 6, right? 4, comma, whatever the value on. This is index, okay? The syntax is L dot insert the index value, comma, the value. Index, comma, value. This is how you can insert the value. If you wanted to insert the value 1 before 2, how will you do that? The same thing, L dot insert 0 in the zeroth thing. In the zeroth thing, I'll put 1 here, and then next I'll type L and see. Sorry, it is spelling mistake. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Fine. This is how you can insert the values in a list like this. How do you? What is list comprehension? We discussed about list comprehension. How do you do the? How do you access the elements? So list is iterable. List is also called as iterable. So why it is called iterable? Because you can select or you can retrieve the values one at a time from the object list, right? List is also an object. You can retrieve the values one at a time. Hence it is using for loop. I showed using for loop or using list comprehension. You can retrieve one values. You can retrieve one value at a time. So that is the reason why list is called as iterable. You can iterate the values using for loop, right? Using the for loop you can iterate it. And what else we discussed it, and also we discussed about booleans also we discussed it, right? So in Python the boolean values are also considered as a number data type. It assigns the numeric values for the true or false, okay, true and false. And step, how do I increment the values? Start from the beginning location colon the end location colon the incremental value. So next one is tuples. Tuples, we can see tuple. Did we see that? No, right? Tuple, right? Some. So here what we will do is we will use tuple. We will create tuple. How can I create a tuple? How do you define a tuple? Using the parenthesis. For example, you have T3, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. These are the values are there. And if I want to check the data type of this one, it's a tuple. Supposing you, for example, I have a variable called T1 is equivalent to, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, or let's say 5 type of table. If you don't use parenthesis, also it will be considered as a tuple. Both the case, but usually we have to use. We will be using the parenthesis to define a tuple. Fine. Okay. So now I want to retrieve the first element from the tuple using the index value. The same value you can do it. Okay. For example, for I in T1, print I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can retrieve the values, one at a time using a for loop. Hence, tuple is also an iterable. List is also an iterable. You can iterate using a for loop. Right? You can iterate each and every element using a for loop. Right? Tuple is also an iterable, and this one is also iterable. Whatever these slicing options that we used it, right? The variable, the different possible ways of slicing the list, right? The same principle is applicable here, but only difference is, for example, T1 of 0 is what? 1. If I want to specify 111, I want to override this value. Let's see what happens. Tuple object does not support item assignment. So tuple is immutable. Tuple is immutable. You cannot modify the values of a tuple. Once you store the values, right, you cannot modify that. Tuple is immutable. Alright, so fine. So you cannot modify the values. And can I delete the values of this one? You can't even delete it. For example, in the case of list, we have 1 2 3, right? So I want to delete the first element here. Del L of 0, if I give, delete it. Look here, you can delete, you can insert, you can modify the values in your list. That is the reason why list is called mutable. But whereas in the case of tuple, look here, this delete list and the delete of tuple is not working. So tuple is immutable, whereas this one is mutable. But can I insert the value in tuple? For example, t1 of let's say t1, you can do it. T1 is equivalent to 233 or 444, comma, what you can do is look here, you can insert the value in a tuple, but you need to specify comma at the end of this one, inside the parenthesis. What is this plus equal? This is nothing but the increment operator. This is equivalent to T1 is equivalent to T1 plus whatever the existing values. In addition to that, I wanted to add 233, 444. This is the thing, I won't do it. Fine. So you can include a value in a tuple, right? You can include a value in your tuple. And did I discuss about comprehension? Yes. List comprehension. Yes, you can use list comprehension. Whereas here, in this case, there is nothing called tuple comprehension. For example, we will try. For example, I want to take each and every value of T1 and I want to multiply that by 2. So that is possible, right? But you are not modifying the value. Instead, you are taking each and every value from your or element from your tuple and then you are multiplying it by 2. While printing it, right? You are printing it. Multiply, take each and every value of the tuple T1 and print it by multiplying each and every element, right? So that is what we are doing it. For example, can I use something like for I into 2 for I in T1? Can I do this? Generator, right? It is not working here. Or let's say T3 is equivalent to this one. Print T3. It is not going to work. It's generator object. It says generator operator, but you can you don't have something like this one. The tuple comprehension. List comprehension is possible, but tuple comprehension is not possible. Okay, and when it the slicing operation is common. For example, if you want to access T1 of 0 colon 3, 0 1 2 3, right? So 0 1 2 3, but the last one, okay, subtract 1 from the index value, 0 1 2 3, only these 3 values it prints. Okay, this is how you can select the range of values from your tuple, like how we did it in list. Next we will see how we can define another data structure called dictionary. What is a dictionary? Another data structure called dictionary. So D is equivalent to, we have something called dict function, but instead of that we use curly braces. You have to use curly braces to define a dictionary. The dictionary, in the dictionary you can store the key value pairs. Supposing you have something like orange is a key, and the value is, let's say you have 200 oranges are there in your shop, and you have something called mango. you have 500 mangoes are there in your shop, and you have something called Alfonso. This is another mango. Okay, you have something like 200. Fine, and now let us see what is the data type of this variable d. If I do this, what is the data type it gives? It gives dict. Dict is nothing but dictionary. So does dictionary is mutable or immutable? Dictionary is mutable. It is mutable. You can modify the values of a dictionary, but you cannot modify the values of key. The keys must be unique. You cannot modify the keys, but you can modify the values using the key only. You can modify the values of your dictionary using the key. Okay, and now I want to check what all the keys are. D dot keys. So these are the keys. If I want to check, or if I want to print only the keys, right? The orange, mango, Alfonso. So what is this orange colon 200 key value pair? The key is the orange and value is the 200. Both the key and value pairs are separated by colon. This is the syntax. So you must be wondering, so instead of having the string value orange, can I have some number value for the key? Yes, that is also possible. Look here. You can also have the combination of both the keys which is of string data type as well as the number data type. For example, your product code is 1008128 is nothing but your custard apple, something like that. Okay, so dictionary. So you just d dot if you want to type once again, okay, d dot keys, I'll use it a separate line so that we can compare both. Look here. So now I modified the dictionary by including a new key value pair. So is there any way I can insert the key value pair without modifying this one? Yes, that is also possible. So d of something, yeah, you need to use square bracket. Let's say I am going to use another fruit, mango, right? So Neelam is my favorite. Let's say your favorite mango is Neelam, and you have something called 1200. Now you just type D. Yes, now the dictionary D, right? So now if I copy paste it here, see the Neelam is the another key. This is the way of assigning a new key. This is another way of assigning a new key value pair. Okay, and as I told you, you cannot modify the keys. The keys are unique. See, in this case, the keys are orange, mango, Alfonso, and 10028 Neelam. These are these values must be unique. You cannot you cannot modify this. If you the keys must be unique in dictionary. Keys must be unique in dictionary. I'll just type it here. It's something like, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the RDBMS. In RDBMS, we use something called unique key, right? So employee ID, the simple example is employee ID. Employee ID is unique to each employee. So here, right, it's mutable, and what is this? So yeah, the key must be unique. You cannot have duplicate value. Okay, I already have this one, right? Let me do one thing. I'll just printd. Instead of this, I'm going to use printd. If I use printd, it will be displayed in this way. Okay, otherwise it will be displayed like this. Printd. So now I'll try to modify this value, the key. Let's see what happens. D of Neelam, or I am trying to add another new. See, this is how I created a new key value pair in the existing dictionary. Earlier in this dictionary, only these four keys were there. After this statement, the Neelam also became part of the keys, isn't it? So now I'm trying to insert the same key one more time. Okay, so by assigning like this, okay. So what is going to happen? Let's let's say 666 print D. What happened? You don't see the Neelam more than one time. Ideally, you should be able to see one more Neelam, right? Neelam colon 200, come on, Neelam colon 666. But what dictionary does is, if you try to add the same key, right? If you add an existing key one more time, what will happen is it will override the value of the existing key only, right? It overrides the value of the existing key. First, what it checks is, before inserting the key Neelam into the dictionary, it will go and check whether this key is already present. Yes, it is already there. Then why should I put one more time Neelam? So since the key is already there, it will overwrite the previous value with the new value. That is what happened here. You understood? When you try to insert the same key one more time, what happens is, when you it will go and check whether the key is already present or not. If it is not there, then it is going to insert this one. If it is already there, the key, then it will overwrite the previous value with the new value. Okay, next, is there any way I can retrieve only the values instead of keys? Can I? Yes, that is also possible. D dot keys will help you to retrieve the key only from your dictionary. See, in your dictionary you have key value pair, right? So orange, mango, only the keys you can retrieve using D dot keys, and D dot values you can retrieve only the values. So 200, 500, 200, and custard apple 666 values. And for example, everything is fine. I wanted to modify the values only, right? So is there any way I can modify the values? Yes, you can do that. So in the square bracket, you can say orange, but it's case sensitive. Okay, don't give capital O, or whatever you use it here, the key, the same thing should be there. Supposing you are using capital O here, you are also supposed to use capital O. Fine, let us see how to modify the value. Let's say I'm going to say 444 print D. So this is how you can modify the values. Using the key only you can modify the value. Without key you cannot modify the value. See, orange 444. Fine, in this dictionary I hardly have how many keys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keys are there. Let's say in my dictionary I have 1000 keys are there. Okay, and I wanted to add value, or I want to do some kind of arithmetic operation. Can I perform any arithmetic? For example, let's go back to the list. We already defined the value list, list as L. It has these values 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Can I multiply a list with scalar value? The scalar value is a single value. I want to multiply 2 with each and every value in the list. Is it possible? It is not possible. So what is happening here is, it is not throwing an error. Rather what it does, it duplicates the values one more time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, again 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you put 3 here into 3, so the star tells the Python interpreter, multiply the list this many number of times. If it is 2, multiply the list by, you can duplicate the list by 2 times. Okay, or is there any way if I can do L plus L? I wanted to add, even in that case also, right, it is concatenating the values, simply concatenating. So whatever the values are there already, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, again it adds the same value with the same L plus L, L into 2, L here. But in the case of dictionary, what we will do is, we wanted to check this one. I want to multiply each and every value irrespective of the key. I want to multiply all the values by 2. Supposing you have price for each and every product, every fruit. Let's say you have a price here. So in that case, basket, right? This basket is for 4, this basket is 500, and each basket I wanted to add 10 with this instead of for because the transportation charges are there. 10 rupees I want to add to each and every basket. How to do that? For I comma j in the d dot one second, the d dot items, you have something like items function is available. This is very much, see, after the for statement, right? So this is for loop. In the for loop there are two literals, two index values. Two values I'm going to retrieve it from d. What is my d? D is nothing but my dictionary. Items is a built-in function. The items function will helps us to take both the key value pair. For example, print, first let us check, print I comma j. Right? Okay, the d dot the items method helps us to take both the key and value pair. Okay, fine. So now we are able to get this one. What I want to do is, for each and every item I want to add 100 rupees. This 100 is the transportation charge. You can only concurrent string, not okay. Here let me do one thing. Yeah, so here one second, print j into 100. No, it is printing 100 times. Okay, here it is not working. It is not much helpful here, right? So if I use this one, I can just I comma j, I can print it. This is what I can get it, right? So at the maximum, this is what I can get it. Okay, in this case I did not use double quote. Dot format, right? I should have used dot format. The key is, this value gets to orange, right? The key is listen, or you can format it like this. Key is equivalent to, and value is equivalent to something like this. You can give it, but you cannot perform the arithmetic operation here, right? So you cannot multiply the value something like, for example, into 10 or something. You cannot do like this. What happens is, right, it multiplies this 10 times, duplicates the values. So what we can do is, we have something called dictionary comprehension. Okay, dictionary comprehension. What we will do is I comma something like I comma or I colon j into 100 or plus 100. Okay, plus 100 for I comma j, single line. Okay, d dot items. For in, right? So yeah, the list comprehension, this is what we do it. Here it is slightly different. So how do you do the dictionary comprehension? The dictionary operations, whatever we can do is we can do it, but only thing is I need to check the syntax. Somehow I forgot this one. Let's do one thing. I'll just check the okay, here I comma j, right? So j plus 100 invalid syntax. Let me do one thing. Let me just check for the syntax. So the Geeks for Geeks, this website is very good, okay, and you can learn Python like anything. Okay, for k comma v in zip. Okay, you need to use zip or I think you can use something like this here, dictionary comprehension. Yeah, so yeah, x colon, look here, that is what I tried here, right? So x colon, yeah, so this is correct only, right? So let me do one thing. Yeah, I should have used colon, but earlier I tried the colon only. I comma j, okay, this one supposed to be in parenthesis. Okay, zip, you can use zip key values, okay, zip. But how will it knows which dictionary? Keys comma values is that one, and dict, no, not this one, this is not the correct one. We can use dict dot items. Yeah, so yeah, for k comma v and k colon v for, okay, what we will do is for instead of k comma v, I'm using for I comma j in dict dot I. So what is my dict dictionary name is d, right? D dot items, and yeah, so program is num into num, j into j. Okay, range of okay, no, not this one. Yeah, this is the one, right? So k colon v. Okay, what we will do is we will just at least let me check this one, I colon j, right? I colon, okay, I need to leave space here. Okay, that's the problem, I think. No, so even then it is causing problem. I comma, okay, I colon j for d dot dict items. Okay, it is printing correctly. Oh, because here I have custard apple, right? That's the problem. Yeah, earlier whatever I tried was correct only. Here it was correct only. The problem here is we have the value as custard apple. That's the reason why if I put 10 multiply by 10 times, it is doing it. So, and if I multiply this by any numerical, obviously it gets multiplied. So the value was 4,444 only, right? Yeah, see, it was happening correctly. But the value in the case of string, in this case it is a string, hence it is multiplying it by 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So you need to scroll it like this. Yeah, look here, here it shows in the next line 10 times. Okay, you understood, right? So that's the problem. So if you specify the key value path, this is called your dictionary comprehension, dict. So then what I did was correct only here. Okay, d dot items, I just printed it here. Only thing is here, right? So yeah, I got confused with the, I was under the impression all the values were in terms of numbers. So how to define a dictionary comprehension, right? So yeah, fine. So how to modify the specific keys value, we learned it. How to display all the keys from a dictionary, we learned it. And how to uh, select only the keys, how to select only the values, that we have seen it, right? And for example, I wanted to we have something like update function is also available. Update function is also available. And what else? I'm just breaking my head. I need to remember it, many things. And for example, I wanted to find out is it possible to check the len of my D? See how many elements are there, length of this one. Same thing is applicable for the list also. List we already discussed, right? Even len of T1 for to know how many number of elements there in tuple, list and dictionary, use a common function len. Len is helpful. And we have something called this one, update function. Let's view the content of dictionary one more time. Look here, we have custard apple, right? We don't want this to be here, right? We want the number value. What we will do is d dot update 10028, right? So 10028 this key by what we are doing is listen to 255, something like that. Print D. Expected argument at most 1 and got 2. No, we have to yeah, so I need to use curly brace here, okay? And update, sorry, here I have to use the curly brace here because it's a key value pair, right? You need to use it. So again you need to use the colon here, it gets confused. That's the difference between this and other thing. Look here, so 10028 instead of custard apple 255 is there, right? 255. Now the question is, can I modify the 10028? You cannot do it. Can I delete the key? Let's say I wrongly entered the key as a numeric value. Can I delete it? Yes, you can delete it. You have a function called pop function using which you can delete it. Supposing d dot pop. Pop is a function using which you can 10028. So this one will delete the key 1002 along with the value. Okay. So now let us print the D. What values are there now? Look here, the 10028, 255. These two values have gone. 1 second. Let me plug in my mouse. Look here. So in this case, 10028, 255, right? It not only dropped this key, it dropped the key along with the value also. See, 255, right? This is the value for this key. Both the key and value pair get deleted. So this is how you can delete a specific key value pair. And also if you want to modify, you can use d dot update, or instead of this you can use the assignment, right? d square bracket 10028 is equivalent to 258. That is the one, that is another the alternative way of doing it. See, in the interview, let's say if they give multi choice question, online test, you should be knowing, right? So that's the reason why I mentioned all the commands here. 10028 on the right side, 255. This is an alternative to this line. Okay, if I want to see the line number, escape and L, press escape and L within this cell. So this is the first line, second line, third line. Okay, the first line is an alternative to the second line. Okay, so you must be wondering, then why the hell should I know about both? I can use this one directly. Why should I use update and all? Because interview purpose. Okay, the interview purpose. The interview, they'll be asking you the multiple choices question, right? Let's say you don't have this option at all in the multiple choice question, right? You don't have the answer. You don't see this one. They gave you this one. Then you should be knowing it, right? Whether something called update is available or not. Okay, next one is d dot pop item. Pop item function. If I give like this, what happens? See, if I copy paste this one, so Neelam got removed. So pop is to remove the specific key value pair, and if you wanted to delete, the key value pair randomly in the sense, look here, from the reverse, right, from the rear side. Okay, remove this one, remove it. It's not random, yeah, it's from the rear side, right to left. If you want to remove it, you can use pop item. If I do this one more time, so the mango will go away, right? From the right to left, if you want to remove the item, you can use pop item. If you want to drop a specific key value pair, use pop, the dictionary name dot pop. That is enough. And the next thing is we have something else called sets. So now you understood how to play around with the dictionary, right? So dictionary, the comprehension also you learnt it. So next we have something called set. Set is unordered collection data type. Set is an unordered collection data. That means, right, it holds an unordered collection of unique elements. It holds an unique. So even in the case of set is also another data structure, like the list, tuple, and dictionary. This is another data type, but it is an unordered collection of the data type. So what do you mean by unordered collection? We will see S is equivalent to, for example, if I say 2, 4, 6, 8, type of S if I give, it tells me set. But dictionary, how should I define? Key value pair. The key is supposed to be separated by colon, key colon value. Look here, that is what we define. This is how we define it, right? See, orange colon, key colon value. Inside the parenthesis, you should give like this. But if you don't give the key value pair, if you directly specify inside the curly braces, this will become your set. Okay, and it is unordered collection data type. It's something like bag, right? You put all the items in a bag. It will not be in the proper order, right? It will be mixed here and there. But how do I slice the value stored in set? Since set is an unordered collection data, you cannot use index. The list, tuple, and even the dictionary also the ordered collection of data, because the values are stored in the memory continuously. Supposing you have 2, 4, 6, 8, first 2 will store immediately after that 4, and then 6, and then 8. But here in the case of set, it is not getting stored something like. Let's say you have a bag, right? You purchase all the vegetables, and let's say you are not using any plastic bag to put each and every vegetable. Blindly you put all the vegetable in a bag, right? The same thing. So that is your unordered collection of things. So since this is unordered, you cannot use the index values to access the values. Instead, what you can do is, for example, if you wanted to what do you say, if you wanted to add anything, right, you can add any value to this. S dot add, and what you can do is you can say 10 or 10. So yes, if you put 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you can add values, you can remove values. So S dot remove, suppose you want to remove 10, so that is also possible. You can add, you can remove the values, and also you can check whether the values are there in a set. This is how you can check whether but you cannot select the specific values. For example, you cannot use I in yes colon print I. Oh, it is possible, right? You can fetch each and every element from a set. This is another way of selecting the values from the set, and set is also iterable. Okay, so you can fetch the values I into, for example, 2. If you put it, so it will get, you can multiply the way. You can take each and every element one at a time, and then you can, and also you can use pop function. Yes, dot pop. If I give pop, so in this case what will happen is, look here, in my set I have 2, 4, 6, 8, right? And if I use pop, what happens? One more time, 4. From left to right, it is deleting the values. Left to right, it is deleting the values. But in the case of dictionary, pop item was doing it from right to left, but here it is doing like this. Okay, and if you want to clear all the values from a list, you can use clear function. For example, s dot clear, this is the one will clear all the values from a set. Now if you type yes, nothing is there. Now an interview question, for example, s1 is equivalent to, if I give simply like this, tell me what is the data type of the variable s1. Is that a set or is that a dictionary? Because in both the cases we have to use curly braces to define, right, the set and dictionary. But if I initialize a variable s1 as curly braces, what is the data type? Let us see, it is a dictionary data type, dict. It is not a set data type, right? It's a, by default, see, many of them they'll get confused. Okay, the online test, they will expect you, you may expect these kind of questions, okay, tricky questions. And for example, I'm going to create a list. L1 is equivalent to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, comma 2, comma 1. So this list has duplicate values in it. I wanted to remove the duplicate values. The set can have only the unique values. You need to remember that one also. Set is an unordered element, unordered data type elements. You cannot have duplicate values. Okay, let us try this one. Yes, or let's say S3 is equivalent to the same thing. Now I'm going to copy paste it, because in this we have duplicate elements, and then we will see what happens after creating a set with the duplicate elements, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is there, but we don't see the value 2 displayed more than once, though we have more than 1, 2 mentioned here. So it removes the duplicate values. The same way, can I remove the duplicate value in a list? How can I do that? Interview question, they'll be asking online test. So we will discuss about the real-time scenarios, okay, later point in time as part of the data analysis, all the things. But first of all, you need to crack the test, right? Online test, irrespective of the level. All the premium companies, they conduct test, online test. See, this is the one way of removing that, the duplicate values. Now the assignment for you is how to display only the even values and odd values from a list. This is one assignment. How to display the even values, only the even. How to display only the even values from a list. And the next thing is how to remove duplicate values from a list without using set data structure. Okay, and the next one is, let's say you have a string in your list. Okay, how to find the counts, find the number of counts, how to find the number of counts of each string in a list. So these are all the assignments. Okay, these are the homework. You just give it a try. Okay, next, what are the things are there? And next one is, yeah, loops and if control structure. And okay, what is we will look at the control structures. Okay, how to use the if and even loopings. Okay, how to do the loop, for loop and while loop and all. How do we use that, right? So we will take a look at it. So when we need to use the control structure, why do you have to use the control structures? Why do you have to use the control structures? Can someone tell me? To control the flow of your program. To control the flow of your program. So what is the syntax for the if conditions? How do we control the flow of the program? We use something like the if else condition. We use the control structures like if else, the if expression. In all the programming language, you must have used this one, the if condition. Since I have some beginners, right, I'll have to cover everything. Laterals, please bear. If expression, this is the syntax. If expression colon, you need to give colon. In the other languages, we use the curly braces, right? Open curly braces and end the code block with your the other curly brace, right? Closed curly brace. But instead of that, we have to use colon here, and then you need to leave tab here, right? So if the expression is true, then you need to execute the statements in this block. Statement 1, statement 2, something like that, right? These are the statements that will get executed. If the condition is true, if this condition returns true, then the statements for the if block will get executed. Else, the else part followed by the else, you need to specify colon here. Okay, see, in the other language what we do is if expression, and what we do is you curly braces and statement 1, statement 2, and then we close this one, and then we use else here, and then we use the curly braces. Instead of using the curly braces, you don't have to use two curly braces. Open the curly brace, end the curly brace, but you don't have to use it here. You have to use colon, only one thing, but you need to use indentation here. The indentation is very unique to Python, but in all the programming language, the best practice is use indentation, right? Use indentation in order to understand which code block belong to which, or which block of code belong to if, and which block of code belong to else part, right? So you should be knowing that. That is the best practice. But even if you don't follow this in other language like C and Python, so Java, it will work if you use curly braces. Whereas in Python, he mandates us to use indentation. Indentation is nothing but in your keyboard, you can see something called tab, or you can press space bar 4 times. Press space bar 4 times and then type statement 1. And next line also space. Instead of pressing the space for 4 times, press tab, right? And then else, the expression, the other statement, right? Sorry, this is the statement. This, let's say if the condition is not true, the control will automatically branch into this else block, and then these statements, what are the statements that are part of this else block, will get executed. So remember that colon following the expression is mandatory, right? The colon following the expression is mandatory, right? So in this case, the if statement, what is the if statement? The if statement is used to test a particular condition, and if the condition is true, it executes the block of this code, right? Right? This is if block. This is called your if block. If the condition is true, it executes the block of code. It is called fine. This is the one you studied. You must have studied during college time, right? Even nowadays, school students themselves, they are teaching all these things. Okay, and instead of using else, let's say if you want to use nested if else, so if, and instead of using else colon and again if and else, right? So what you do is, instead of using that, what you can do is if elif. I remember in some other language they use elif, right? Elif. You combine both, elif. You don't have to have if else again after the else. Elif. You can combine these two things. And also we have something called ternary operator. One second, I remember something called ternary operator. Okay, I jumped directly here. Okay, we have something called ternary operator. In that case, what happens is, it is something like this. If the expression is true, then print the result here. Again, the keyboard problem. Okay, I will jump into this one. Okay, and what we will do is we will just check here. Let's write something like now a is equivalent to 5 and b is equivalent to 2. If a is equivalent to 5 colon, and then look here, automatically control comes here and press tab here, okay, or else you can type it here, print a plus 100. Else you need to start, you need to type the else in line with the if. You started if here, right? So you need to type the else also in line with this if. You're not supposed to give tab here, okay? Don't do that mistake. So because if the if condition validates this expression, if it returns true, it will execute this block of the code, else the control will come here and print a plus 500, something like that. Okay, we'll just execute this one and see what is happening here. 105, right? Since the condition is true, so the 5 comes here, 100 plus 5 is 105, right? So 105. This is how we need to write it. Supposing you want to write something like this, nested if else. What you can do is you can check here, if elif, let's say a is greater than 5, right? So elif, the next condition is elif a is less than 5, you do this one, right? And the else print value of e. Sorry, here I know I should have specified the colon here, right? So here I did not specify the colon here. And elif also one second, let me just check the syntax, because working in multiple we are working in Spark also. Yeah, in set we have something else called frozen set. Okay, frozen set is also available. Frozen set is, somehow I forgot, the frozen set is something like your this one. Immutable. Frozen sets are your immutable thing. And tell me one thing, whether set is mutable or immutable. Continuous statement, for loop, control statements. Yeah, elif is not there here. Okay, so let me just elif, you need to specify the colon here, because it's a simple comments, right? If and the expression should followed by this one. Since you are combining the if along with the L, right? L is else part, hence you need to specify the colon followed by the expression, right? So 5 here, elif. So this is how you can specify the nested you can use the nested if conditions. And the ternary operator, I was talking about the ternary operator. For example, in our case, a equal to 5 and b is equal to 2, right? So what I'm going to do is I want to say something like print it's valid, right? It's valid. And what I'm going to do is here, if a is greater than b, else print it's not greater. So this is called ternary operator. If the expression, if the if statement evaluates this expression, if it returns true, then perform this action. Right? If this condition is true, then do this. Else you do this one. So this is called ternary operator. So this is to keep the things minimal. Okay, instead of writing it multiple things, right? A multiple line, you can use this way also. This is another alternative way of using this one. Fine. Okay, so what we will do is tomorrow we will step up this one. Hey, tomorrow can we have it between 6 to 8, okay, evening 6 to 8, because weekend we are, at least weekend we can take some rest. All the 5 days we are like few members express their concern, right? Evening can we have it 6 to 8?
We can have, yeah.
6 to 8, okay, right?
6 to 8, what Kishore, are you okay?
Sir, yes, sir.
How about Domati, are you okay with that? Domati
Sir, Domati, she hasn't
joined today.
joined.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So fine. So you guys are fine with this, right?
Yes.
Right? 6
Yes,
to
yes.
8, and
6 o'clock now, Satya, 6 o'clock.
yeah, evening 6 to 8. 6:15 we will have it. Okay, 6:15 to 8:15 we'll have it. Okay, we'll continue
Okay.
tomorrow. Even today, right? So many people they dropped off instead of me send the reminder. Okay, and we will continue tomorrow 6 to 8. Okay, so that we can go to bed at least little early tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right?
So we will have it for every Sunday.
No, not every Sunday. See, this one is for this weekend only. Next weekend we will follow the same time, 9 to 11, and followed by the next weekend, right? We will streamline it. Okay, we will have it somewhere between this time. Okay. All right. Okay. Because the other batch, I'm trying to, I need to complete, certain pending topics. That's the reason why. All right, fine. So tomorrow between 6 to 8, we will continue. With this, I'm going to wrap up because many of them did not join today. Almost 6 people, they did not join today. Okay. I was expecting them. I think some people, they have some issue with connection now. Fine. So, okay, I'm going to wrap up the session now. Okay.